Remember the judges that literally took illegal payments to put children in jails? They got a kickback. Everybody they put in jail, every kid they put in jail, they got money for it. Well, those judges have now been ordered to pay more than $200 million. They're not going to pay a damn thing. I'm going to explain why. Let's put up the picture of these monsters. Two former Pennsylvania judges who orchestrated a scheme to send children to for-profit jails in exchange for kickbacks were ordered to pay more than $200 million to hundreds of people they victimized. Mark Ciavarella and Michael Conahan shut down a country-run juvenile detention center and accepted $2.8 million in illegal payments from the builder and co-owner of two other for-profit lockups. Ciavarella, who presided over juvenile court, pushed a new policy, zero tolerance, that guaranteed large number of kids would be sent to Pennsylvania Child Care and its sister facility, West PA Child Care. So before I get to the next part of this story, what did these judges do? They created a policy for the front-leaning narrative. They said, okay, to justify the theft, corruption, and felonies that we're going to commit, we're simply going to say it's part of a new policy called a zero tolerance policy. And they contextualize this policy in the dynamic of tough love. We got to teach them. Well, it had nothing to do with love at all, well, except for the love of money. Ciavarella ordered children as young as 8 years of age to detention, which was extremely abnormal for a judge to do so. But that judge is thinking about that money that 8-year-old will put in his pockets. Many of them were actually first-time offenders, deemed delinquent for petty theft, jaywalking, truancy, smoking on school grounds, and other minor infractions. Let me remind you of why this is important, because I work with juvenile justice today. I work with juveniles that are incarcerated. I was an incarcerated juvenile myself. When a juvenile is arrested for a minor offense and it is the first time, nobody goes to jail. Nobody. You don't go to jail when you're a juvenile and you get a petty offense, okay? Doesn't happen. This judge made it happen 100% of the time, along with his co-conspirator. The judge often ordered youths who he found to be delinquent to be immediately shackled, handcuffed, and taken away without giving them a chance to put up a defense or even say goodbye to their families. Now, the reason why he classified them as delinquent is because it needed to say that on the paperwork to justify the order for juvenile. If they're not delinquent, everybody would say, well, Judge, why are you sending these non-delinquent kids here? And because most of them were in poverty poor, they did not get access to high quality representation. And the judge knew it. And he took advantage of their social status, their economic status, and their youth status in order to make money. That's what these judges did. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court threw out some 4,000 juvenile convictions. They threw out 4,000 juvenile convictions involving more than 2,300 kids after the scheme was uncovered. US District Judge Christopher Connor awarded 106 million in compensatory damages and 100 million in punitive damages to nearly 300 people in a long-running civil suit. That's not real money. When you look at all of the families that it has to go to, the suffering does not equate to the money they got, not even close. It's unlikely these individuals, the now adult victims, will even see a fraction of the eye-popping damages award. But a lawyer for the plaintiff said it's a recognition of the enormity of the disgraced judge's crimes. Another plaintiff's attorney, Sol Weiss, said he would begin a probe of the judge's assets, but did not think they had any money to pay a judgment. All right, Ciavarella is 72 years of age. He's already serving a 28-year prison sentence in Kentucky. His projected release date is 2035. He'll be dead long before then. Conahan, 70, was sentenced to more than 17 years. Now catch this. He was sentenced to 17 years in prison, but was released in 2020 on home confinement with 6 years left on his sentence because of the coronavirus pandemic. Some judge said, we're gonna let him out. COVID-19. One of his buddies, naturally. All right, hell of a story, horrible, but I can't say these are the only judges doing some mess like this. They got caught. What are your thoughts, sis?
Yeah, I love a good bout of justice. And for as hard as it is to come by, it doesn't feel like it happens often enough. But whenever it does happen, it's good. It's a good feeling, and we need to recognize and appreciate those moments. But the for-profit prison system is one of the most egregious examples of capitalistic corruption that I can think of in this country. And we see the negative effects that it has on society. This country has one of, if not the highest incarceration rates in the world. And that's not a good thing. It's not because we're so tough on crime, it's a problem. And then when you have the school to prison pipeline, when we talk about systemic discrimination and systemic poverty, this is what we're talking about. We're not helping people to better themselves in this country. We're not giving them the resources they need to get out of whatever holes they're already in. We're instead punishing them for years for things that they did as children. And we're saddling them with permanent criminal records, putting them at a disadvantage for the rest of their lives. That follows them for the rest of their lives. When we talk about societal issues being systemic, this is what we're talking about. And these kids, they need help, they need support. They don't need to be punished as a criminal for anything that they did when they were 8 years old. And they certainly don't need to be victimized by greedy cops and attorneys.
Yeah, and it's really fascinating. You literally have a clear example of a for-profit company creating a corrupt policy through a sitting judge. A sitting judge created a corrupt policy because of an enticement from a for-profit company. That's why we say these kinds of connections are bad.